Welcome to the Town Hall Get to Know broadcast. We are so grateful that you are here this evening. I have a wonderful special guest with me this evening, Reuben Lowing. Some of you may know him. Others might not know him, but we're going to get to know him this evening. He's such a great guy. I've known him for a while now, and I was just so very impressed. The first time I saw him, he was giving a speech in a Toastmasters meeting that he was at, and apparently he is the president of the Toastmasters in Far, Texas, and I was very impressed. He'd done a tremendous amount of research on the topic that he was speaking about. I was just immediately attracted to his intelligence and his poise, and of course the topic and the information that he was sharing, because it was very, very interesting, insightful. And so from that point forward, I've gotten to know him a little bit better. I'm just pleased and grateful that he's here with us this evening. This is the Town Hall Get to Know broadcast. We are the LWN Live with Nature Foundation, and we appreciate you joining us. If you happen to be watching on Facebook, feel free to share this video out, hit that like button. And if you haven't done it already, like that Facebook page, the LWN Foundation. We are streaming on the E360 TV platform. You can watch us on your Fire or your Roku, Apple or Amazon TV. We're streaming to our website as well. You can watch us on the live stream tab up on YouTube. Thank you. We appreciate you coming. I want to tell you a little bit about Reuben. Reuben is living in Texas currently. He is a former boxer and a Navy SEAL. He is a war hero. I am just very proud to have him with us this evening. He actually was decorated with the Medal of Valor during Operation Just Cause for his service down in Panama. And he went to sniper school, free fall jump master school, Special War Communications, and he was designated as a master training specialist. He's done a lot of dynamic things. He graduated from South Texas College with a degree in mathematics and went on to gain extensive experience in real estate and financial services. And tonight, that's what we're going to be talking about, is we're going to be talking about planning for the future, particularly during this COVID-19. And he's going to share with us some insights. He is making a positive impact in community, and he's going to share what he's doing with us, because it is important that we plan for our future. The sooner that we start planning for the future, the better off we're going to be in the long run. Although we need to focus on right here, right now, because that's all we really have is this present moment. But what we do right here today, this moment, sets us up for our success tomorrow. That is how that works. And so if we're graced with tomorrow, what we've done today will make an impact for that. Now, he's also studied in avionics and electronics, excuse me. He had a boxing career. He's boxed with some of the greatest boxers known to man. He trains regularly. He is a war hero. He helps families and individuals plan for their future as a financial services advisor. And without further ado, I would like to bring him into the show. Here we go. Welcome, Reuben Lowing. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on.
You are very welcome. We're very pleased that you're here. We're going to be talking about planning for the future. I think that is important. I wanted to mention as well, if anybody has any questions or they have a comment about this broadcast, if you're watching Facebook, put it in the comments and we'll try and get to those comments as quickly as we can. This isn't an interactive program. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, Reuben. I know I've known you for a little while. I am just grateful for your service to our country. You help to keep America free and have put your life on the line for our country. And I want to say thank you so very much for your service to us.
Well, you covered a lot of things. I didn't think much of myself as far as being very smart. When I graduated high school, I wasn't sure if I was going to get a diploma or a certificate of attendance. And I was good at one thing, and that was fighting. Um, and so I was going to join the Marine Corps because there was a guy named Jeff McCracken, and he would fight on USA Wide Global Sports. So I went to go knock on the Marine Corps recruiter's door, like first part of my senior year of high school, and nobody answered. And the Navy recruiter sticks his head out the window and says, "Oh, they're out to lunch. Come here, I'll talk to you." I'm like, "Listen, pal, I don't want to join the Navy. I don't want to be on a ship 5 and 6 months at a time with a bunch of men. I want to box. I know the Marine Corps got a boxing team." And that guy goes, "I boxed in boot camp. I signed up that day." He lied. And but I ended up getting designated as an aviation electronics technician, specifically for light flight simulators. And I went to Pensacola, Florida.
I've been there.
Oh, before that, I was in my A school was in Millington, Tennessee, and I was the Marine Corps had a little work boxing gym, so I would train there. There was a guy named Roberto de Jesus. He was a lance corporal, or no, he was a corporal, and he was from Puerto Rico. His cousin was Esteban de Jesus, the first guy to beat Roberto Duran. And he was like 32 years old. I was 18, and we were sparring one day, and he was a lightweight. I was a featherweight, and I threw a jab and I missed, and he hit me. I was working on cutting the ring off, and he was working on slipping punches.
You don't look like a featherweight. I just got to say that, Reuben.
Back in the day, right? Back in the day. So I threw a right hand. I missed it, and he slipped, and he hit me, and I threw a left hook, and he slipped it and hit me, and I got mad. And I missed this, and I threw like 4 punches in a row, fast as I could, and I missed with the first 3. But the last one, I caught him right on the button, and he was laying on the ground in a hurdler stretch position, his eyes wide open, a smile on his face, but he was out cold. And I didn't really know I could hit that hard, but I'm like, well, maybe I can. And then I went to Pensacola, Florida, and I saw this 12-year-old boy that looked like a miniature Sugar Ray Leonard. He whipped everybody, and that was Roy Jones Jr. And I said, whoever taught him how to fight, I want him to teach me. And so I went to his dad's gym, and he said, well, I was the only white guy in the gym. And he said, if you want to fight for me, you better do what you're told. You better be on time. You better quit drinking. And you better quit drinking. And I was a 19-year-old sailor, and that's what I did. And it was quite an interesting experience. I learned a lot. Funny thing, they called me a cracker for 6 months before I knew what they were talking about. It was really interesting, and what you find out is when you start learning about people, I don't care what race they are, you start learning what amazed me is how these guys were so dedicated, and they would just ultra focused on the preciseness of their technique, and how, on my hand, they put that effort toward anything, they would excel. That really got my attention.
So it was important to follow the recommendations of your trainers. That would be correct, and it would be about a routine. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I got beat up every night for a year and a half.
Right.
And one day I didn't even want to go. I went to the gym one night, and I went 14 rounds of 6 different sparring partners. I whipped every one of them. And that was just the weirdest thing. It's like jumping rope. Oh man, I didn't know how to jump rope. And these others, they're spinning around, double jumping, crossing over, and then, but in about a week, I was turning that rope over, and then I got to be doing it. And it's amazing how, when you learn, about your subconscious mind, it'll quit on you, and it'll try to do what's easy, and you got to be you've got to take hold of that and take that bull by the horns and make it go where you want it to go, and it will eventually. And every time, and you just can't. You get when you've done that enough times, doesn't matter what you're doing, you start learning that okay, eventually I'll come around. eventually I'll get there. And I went to SEAL training. I was going to get out and turn pro, but nobody was really making any money at the time. And I was a lifeguard on the base, and there was a Navy diver and a Navy SEAL that were putting us through our training there in Pensacola. And I was the only one to keep up with them and push-ups, sit-ups, flutter kicks, running, and all that. And so the Navy diver guy tried to talk me into getting into the diving community. And to me, divers were just underwater mechanics. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to box. I want to go to the Navy box team. He goes, oh, go to the SEAL team. They'll send you the box team. Well, I'm going to tell you that's the hard way. But that's what I did.
So you wanted to box all your life, it sounds like.
Yeah, since I was 7 years old, I think.
Okay. All right. So who was your favorite boxer as a child?
Salvador Sanchez. I watched his fights the other day. I just love watching it. It was just fascinating.
Well, I know that we are going to be talking about planning for your future, and we're going to be getting to that in just a minute. And I wanted to remind everybody, if you have a question or you comment, feel free to put that. If you're watching Facebook, put it in the comments. If you're watching YouTube, we're not seeing those comments, but we will go back to them. We will address those comments for you. This is an interactive broadcast. This is the Town Hall Get to Know show, and we're getting to know Reuben Lowing this evening. He is a financial planner. He is a certified life, health, and disability executive and licensed. Exactly. And I relate to that because I was licensed in Texas as well. I did it for about a couple of years, and it's a fun thing to do, is to help others. But before we get to that, and I just ask all the viewers, just hang with us here, because if you go away now, you're going to miss the important stuff. Maybe we should get to the important stuff first. I don't know, but I'm just going to ask you to stick with us. Remember to share this video out, because if you leave now, you're going to miss something that could mean the difference in your entire life. I mean, this could be just groundbreaking news for you, because that's what we do. We care about people. And that's what we're talking about, is caring for people, trying to help them plan for the future. Things are very difficult. But before I do want to lay the groundwork here, you were a SEAL. You were awarded the Metal of Valor down in Panama.
Well,
Tell us.
It was a Navy comm with Valor. There's Navy with Valor.
Okay.
And basically what happened is we trained for this mission for about 3 years. And actually, I was in Panama for 6 months prior to the invasion. And then we redeployed. That was our scheduled deployment to Panama. And then we redeployed back to the States. And 3 days later, we got recalled to go back and participate in the invasion. And then we're in the boats off the coast of the Panama City, Panama. Mm-hmm. And our mission was to take over an airfield, which is usually a ranger mission.
Mm. Okay.
But because it was right there on the water, that's what they had us Navy SEALs do that mission. And an hour before we hit the beach, they changed the whole plan. What we trained for 3 years to do, they changed it at the last minute. Because they showed the plan to the newly elected president, Guillermo Endara. And he didn't want, our plan was to go halfway up the runway, and the runway had a downward slope. So there was some dead space. And we were going to set up with AT-4s and long rockets and they were going to destroy the aircraft, this Learjet. And when Guillermo Endara saw that, he goes, oh no, I want to use that plane. So we had to change our whole plan. So now, we were in the file. On one side of the runway was Golf platoon and Bravo platoon, and half of Bravo was on the front, and the other half was on the back, and Golf was in the middle. It was like a giant eye moving up the airfield. And and we were on the other side. Delta platoon was on the other side, and right in front of the hangar. So we had our guys yelling at their guys, and their guys were yelling at us, and then the shooting started, and we had 4 dead, 8 wounded, 2 guys crippled for life. It was, and then afterwards, we were there for, 2 days, and then 3 o'clock in the morning, the second day, they called a ceasefire, and I remember thinking, how'd that happen? We were Navy SEALs. That wasn't what happened to us. And what it was is our leadership were so eager to get into a fight. There hadn't been a major conflict, except for Grenada, since Vietnam. And they were so eager to get their combat action that, they threw out the window what the Vietnam vets told us: you don't engage the enemy unless you have the element of surprise, cover and concealment, and superior firepower. Well, we were on a lit runway. They knew we were coming. All we had was superior firepower. But the guy that did the most damage, one guy, he got away, was in a second-story window, and he was with AK-47, and he was picking our guys off. And he got out the back, and afterwards. So because of that, I'm like, so there were certain hard set rules I had. If my leadership was putting us in a position where we didn't have the element of surprise, cover and concealment, or superior firepower, I'd have a little discussion with them. And then also, don't put your weapon down until the enemy's either dead or out of range. Even to render first aid to your wounded and bleeding buddies, because we have 2 more dead. We had 2 more dead than we would have had if those guys would have adhered to those guidelines. And you kind of take that to the rest of your life, right? It's very difficult for me to work for somebody when I figure out I know more than Navy.
Well, I know that because we've talked about this. You told me some stories, and it's tough stuff to hear. It certainly is, and your bravery is to be commended, to put yourself in your life on the line. But I know that this training helped you to become the person that you are today, because I do look at you as a leader. You've been very successful in many businesses that you've been involved with over the years. And why don't you tell us now? You've just recently been certified with life and health insurance certificates, so that you're able to. Tell us about this.
Okay, so when I got out of the Navy back in 1996, I didn't retire. I just ended my enlistment. I just didn't re-enlist.
Okay.
And I was every time I wrote a resume, it came out something carrying a gun, and I just really didn't want to do that anymore. And I'd actually got a permit to carry an exposed firearm, and I was going to go to work checking bags for $15 an hour at the federal building in San Diego, California. I really didn't want to do that either. And the unemployment guy calls me up and says, "You still looking?" I go, "Yeah, I'm still looking." He goes, "Well, there's a construction company in Irvine, California, and they're looking for a lead generator for all of San Diego County." Well, I didn't know what a generator was, but leader, I'm a leader. And the job was standing in front of a mock-up sunroom, getting people to sign up for a free estimate on a room addition, sunroom, garden room, patio room. And they put me with this lady, heavyset lady, and to train me. And she was barking at people like a chained dog and getting about the same response. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. So I'm like, okay, who shops? Women shop. I've been training myself how to talk to women my whole life. So what I would do is that they would come to the store, I'd scan, and whatever I could see just popped out of it, whether it was their hair, their makeup, or their jewelry, or their scarf, or their shoes, or nails, whatever I could find to compliment them, I would. And they would respond, and I would say, "Have you seen our sunrooms?" And the first month, I was like the #1 lead generator for that company for all of Southern California. And then I started listening to them. They would tell me they got a slab on the back patio they want to cover. They got an old wooden patio they wanted to, put a sunroom in. And I would put that on the lead. they would tell me about their finance and whatever. And so I ended up having the highest closing ratio for that company. So I started getting a little confidence.
Excellent.
And I started doing some other jobs, and I just wasn't making enough money. And my wife handled all the finances because I was always gone when I was in the military. And she's like, the creditors started calling. And I go, well, tell them I'll pay them when I get the money. And she said, but they won't listen. I go, well, tell them to pack sand. Well, she couldn't do that. Well, I did it. But I learned that I realized I didn't know enough. And so I read all these books on personal finance and debt management. And there's a couple books that had the most impact was probably by John Avanzini. He's a Christian author. He wrote 2 books, Breaking the Power of Debt and Rapid Debt Reduction Strategies. And my wife bought them for me because they had boxing gloves on the cover. And the first book, the Breaking the Power of Debt, was the bigger book. And it ties mostly into the spiritual, supernatural, making that commitment, that heart felt spiritual commitment to get out of debt. And then Rapid Debt Reduction Strategies was really small, and it was basically a debt roll-up strategy. That's where, if you look at your credit report, you got all your debts are in order of the largest debt to the smallest debt, and on the right-hand column is the minimum monthly payment. So that total amount, that's your total debt service amount. And if you have extra money, you want to put that to the payment of the next smallest debt, and then that amount is what you pay every month. And everything you pay above and beyond the minimum goes straight to principal, lowering your, paying your debt off faster, lowering your effective interest rate. Now, when you pay that smallest debt off, you take that combined amount of money and you add it to the payment of the next smallest debt, and you just create a snowball of money, rolling it up. If you make extra money, you save that money. That's a little different take than like Dave Ramsey teaches. Dave Ramsey talks about putting all your resources to paying that debt off and get it all, including your mortgage, and then start saving for retirement. The problem is time is your greatest asset, and that'll put you behind. And so I answered an ad as in the paper for a debt management consultant, and it was a group interview. And there was guys with way more sales experience than me. They did PNC, they did real estate, they did mortgages. There was like 7 of us at the interview, and this guy that was interviewing us, he was like 6'7". He was a professional volleyball player, big dude, and he explained everything what they were doing. And what they were doing is they were taking a debt roll-down strategy, but they were incorporating a mortgage refinance restructuring to pay off certain strategic debts that would get the greatest impact. And then they would put that into the debt roll-down, and then they would incorporate consumer credit counseling and debt settlement strategies. Well, I knew what he was talking about because I read all those books. And I was the only one when he said, it was straight commission. They would give you a $50 bonus for every signed loan application with income documentation and a check for an appraisal. Well, I needed $600 to pay the rent. And I'm like, where am I going to find 12 people? And I look over in this box in the corner of my bedroom was all those sunrooms. They were all homeowners, about 300 of them. So I called them all up, and turned in 12 applications that first month, got my rent paid for, and then 10 of those loans funded. And I made like $7,500 that first month. I didn't know people could make that kind of money. And they made me the manager. And these guys were great closers. They get the client in front of them, they were down like a clown, but they couldn't hustle up their own business like I could. And every time I showed somebody how to get out of debt, they started looking to buy a house. So I got my real estate license, and I actually started off in mortgages. In California, it was the same license for mortgages and real estate. And I started off doing the 125 home improvement debt consolidation loans from the money store. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was big, wasn't it?
Yeah. So a lot of so I did that for about a year and a half, and a lot of my clients, I would because of what I knew, I would help them. They might not have been able to get a loan from anybody else, but I would take the time to help them, figure out a budget, cut away the excess, the wasted spending, start putting some money away so they had had reserves. I tell them how to negotiate or how to dispute their derogatories on their credit, get their credit scores up. Next thing you know, I'm getting them a loan.
Well, I wanted to excuse my interruption here, but you've helped a lot of people with their credit reports to be able to get their credit back into good standing. Isn't that correct? And you can do that pretty quickly, as I understand.
Yeah, I just did it. My boy works for Tesla in San Diego. He wanted to have a S3, right? And his scores were kind of low, and he didn't have a lot of credit. There was one derogatory on there that was not his, and things have changed. You know, that you would go on the website and dispute it, and in 24 hours that was off his credit. Now he's driving his own S3 around.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So I'm hearing budget too, and I think that that's a really important factor to set a budget. Because I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to help people, and particularly, and I'll let you do the talking because it's about you and you sharing, but I did know a little bit about it actually, because I was licensed in Texas just like you are, and it's really important to start thinking about this right now, folks, and that's what I really want to just get out. Super important to consider the things that we're going to be talking about this evening and taking action on it now. Instead of waiting till you're much older, and it's going to be much harder. And maybe you can explain that to the viewers, Reuben, how critical it is to consider planning for your future and planning for your retirement right now, even though there's COVID-19, even though things might be kind of tough financially for people.
Well, that kind of ties together. Okay, I've been training myself for I used to go around saying, we may get reduced to the day of the road warrior, but I'm going to survive. There may be some people in my trade, but I'm surviving. And but I'm in a different place now, but there's just fighting the fight a different way. So I'm in the Rio Grande Valley of Texas. This is for decades has been the most obese and highest incident of sugar diabetes in the country. And when I sit down with a family, and one of the biggest things expenses that you see is they eat out. They crazy amounts of money that they're spending because they eat out every meal. And they're not. Is it because the food is so good? It sure isn't good for you. What it is they need the social interaction. That's why they're doing it. Okay, and then now with the shelter in place, they're jonesing to get out there and meet people. It's incredible.
Well, it is nice to be able to go out to dinner, but I mean, it costs a lot of money. That's what I recognize. I mean, it's not like even 5 years or 10 years ago. And it seems like even the cheap food isn't so cheap anymore. They're doing away with, even if you're down on the dollar menu for McDonald's, not that I'm suggesting McDonald's, because health-wise, not such good food, but convenience. I mean, I know that living in California was all about convenience. And so I grew up in we want it now, go down the corner, get it, and be done. But I think what you're alluding to here is that think about that money and where that money's going, right?
Oh, exactly. And why you're doing why you're really doing what you're doing. It's not, is that food that good? Is it really? That's not why they're spending that money to eat out. They're spending it because they want that social interaction. They want to be around, and that's another thing, is paying attention, to who you're around. You will become like those people that you hang around the most. And so you want to pay attention to that.
That's a real truth, isn't it? You are like the people that you hang around. And speaking of that, I just want to put up some of the comments here from some of our guests. We want to thank, of course, everybody that comes to join us. Remember, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, share this video out. Make sure you hit the like button. You subscribe on YouTube. Hit the the like button for the LWN Foundation, but we have several really awesome people, and that's one of the things I did. Surround myself with people like Reuben that are helping other people and that are leaders, most definitely, and thought leaders. We just had a celebration this weekend for Sophie Nubani. We want to thank her for coming by. She is so awesome as well. Just put out her new book about optimize your creative thinking. And that's what we're talking about, is being creative here and thinking about your future and then doing something about it. Shirley Connolly's with us as well. They're watching all the way from Ontario, Canada. We appreciate that. Melissa Osborne from New York, and Rachel Johnson is up in Virginia, South Carolina, Virginia. I'm not sure. I got to remember that. I got to practice some of these memory things too, by the way. Alan is saying hello to you. Alan Ibarra is in the house, and we appreciate you as well. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Alan's local. Alan, I'll be actually talking with Alan on Zoom here shortly.
Awesome. Super duper. We appreciate you, Alan. And now you're coming to us from Texas. Where are you coming to us from? You're not in far, are you? Or are you?
I'm in McAllen.
You're McAllen. Okay, right.
McAllen, right. Down the road from far.
Yeah.
It's not far. Next to Mission. Right.
I had to say that. I love, actually, that's a really interesting country out there. I have been through that section of Texas. It's a big place, of course, as we know. You've been out in Texas though for a while too, and so you're helping people in your community there of McAllen, and you're trying to help them do this financial planning. Alan's apparently in Mission, so I've heard of these places, but I just rolled along on the I-10. I wasn't, necessarily. I was headed to Austin. That's where I was going at the time, but.
So we're about 3.5 hours north of or south of Austin.
South of Austin,
but right. we're actually 3.5 hours south of San Antonio. It's like 4.5 hours south.
Okay,
of Austin.
Down towards Corpus Christi.
Yeah, we're further. We're about 2.5 hours south of Corpus Christi. I'm 7 miles north of the Mexican border, halfway between Laredo and Brownsville.
Okay, Brownsville. Yeah, that's the big border town there. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Things are bigger in Texas, aren't they, though, Reuben, huh?
Well, yeah.
Yes, very much so. I mean,
what you were talking about as far as helping the community, and like I said, I'm in a different place now. I'm not. My best friend's a pastor, and we became best friends. We were at a men's Bible study, and he was working with doing some community, do some community outreach and a little community in Donna, Texas, and the cartels ran him out, and that made me so mad. I was wanting to call up every one of my Navy SEAL buddies in Texas and go clean house. But what he did is he found a large church up in Houston, and they sponsored this little church just right outside that community, and they started fostering, the ministry out of that church. But we became really good friends, and after that, and he was a heavy equipment operator in the oil fields and the refineries, and he made really good money, but he was gone all the time, and he wanted to minister. So he stopped doing that, and they had a restaurant, and he did landscaping and other things, and but he wasn't, he got in trouble, and he actually got a 30-day performer quit. And so I sat down with him, and then that was kind of the beginning of me actually getting back to it. I had fallen away from the industry for a few years. 2008 hit me really hard, and I got divorced, and I had lost everything. And I was not homeless, but I was about as close to homeless as you could be without actually being homeless for about 5 years.
Wow, yeah, you told me that.
And and he helped me out I remember my second wife. That was a very short marriage, and I had no car. I didn't know where I was going to live, and he called me up and goes, "Dude, I found a vehicle for you." And it was another one of the pastors who had this 2005 Toyota Highlander, had been sitting in his driveway for 8 months with a dead battery, and we jumped it, and and he did. I had to pay for it till that next Wednesday. He wanted $500, and
Can't beat that.
and then I got a grant from the Veterans Peer-to-Peer group to pay my first month's rent in my new apartment, and then and bam, I was in a better place, without my second wife than I was with her. It was like, wow, that's just, God has a way of, God can, like pluck you right out of a situation, if he feels you're worthy and take care of you, right?
He can. He does.
And so I sat down with him and talked a bunch, about the principles and the strategies that we teach. And then he got a reprieve. One of the other pastors of the church actually married the daughter of the guy holding his note. And he had the money, and so they let him, pay his arrears, and now he's been good to go and take care of things. And then he was working up in Houston. He was working Monday through Friday, and then driving back on late Friday nights. And he called me one night, and he's like, he was the last one that they were going to lay off at the refinery. He's a good worker, and everybody likes him. And he goes, since you talked to us, we've never saved this much money. It wasn't in our culture. We used to just buy, when we had money, we just buy all the things we couldn't get when we didn't have any. We've been saving. We got our emergency fund put aside. Right, we're going to be okay. But these other guys aren't. They need this. I'm like, preach it, Mike. And so, I tell people, I like, you ever teach your kid how to ride a bike? It's amazing.
Sure.
They're scared out of their mind. They're unsure, and then you're holding on to them and you're encouraging them, but you they're doing it. You take your hand off the bike when they're not looking, they don't even know it, right? And then they get a little confidence, so they go, okay, you can let go, and then they take off, like they didn't even need you, right? And it's like that, teaching, kids how to box, teaching guys how to shoot, teaching them marksmanship, but there's nothing that can build confidence and create a foundation to have that confidence on, like getting their finances together. When you get them out from, above their head above water, you get their credit cleaned up, they start saving them. Those accounts grow, man, and the more they grow, the more confidence that they get, and there's nothing like it.
Well, what if a person was to start saving for their retirement, and something were to happen to that person, how would having had a plan made a positive impact for the rest of his family? Can you tell us about that?
Well, nowadays, oh goodness, how would I give you a history lesson here?
Okay.
With the HIV, when that came around, they started allowing those people that were HIV positive, if they had life insurance, they could take the money from the death benefit to pay for their medical expenses early. And then people that had other, they had cancer or heart disease or some other catastrophic illness, they're like, well, if they can do it, why can't we do it? So now all these life insurance, the permanent policies, they all have those riders. Some are better than others. And so actually the life insurance can actually cover you. They call them living benefits. They can cover you for long-term care scenarios. You go into a nursing home or catastrophic illness situations, right, where you can't do 2 of the 5 things, that you walking, eating, continence, those things. You need help to do those things, and you're either going to go into a facility or someone's going to come to your house, and you can get that paid for with your life insurance proceeds. So does that, and then if something happens to you, then your family's covered. I mean, I used to sit down. I more times I can tell you, I'd sit down with a couple, and the husband would go, he put me off, and I didn't like that. And so one day I'm like, that happened to me, and I look at the wife and I go, so tomorrow, if he steps off the curb and gets hit by a bus, are you and the kids going to live with his parents or yours? He didn't like that, but when I left that house, they were protected.
Right. It's a tough thing to think about. Nobody wants to think about dying, or at least we hope that they're not thinking about dying, because everybody's important, regardless of the circumstance.
This coronavirus crisis going on. I didn't for a long time. I didn't know anybody, and then my mom. What got me here to the Rio Grande Valley was my mother and my stepfather have a house in Rio Bravo, Mexico, and I was coming down and visiting in 2014, and in 2015 I stayed. And they went back home to Michigan, and my stepsister, who I don't know, my stepfather's daughter, they live in Flint, Michigan, but they're from the valley. They got coronavirus, the whole family. And then, so that was the first case of anybody that I knew. And then somebody I know, I'm doing business with, him and his son got it, and they actually had to be in seclusion away from the rest of the family for like 3 weeks. And then in my apartment complex, there's 2 families that are here in self-isolation here. And then my best friend, my pastor, his mom and his dad got it. And then his 2 uncles and aunt got it. And that has been that's hit real close to home. Okay. And she's diabetic. One of her brothers was going in for dialysis, and he got it going to the hospital or going to the treatment center for dialysis. And the other brother had, had heart condition or something. He almost died like 6 months ago, and then he died, right? And then their aunt just got it. So that's been really crazy. And you and I have talked about like the subconscious mind, right?
Yes.
And,
yeah.
When you go into a crisis, you go into what's called beta mode, and you can't do anything new or learn anything new. Your mind won't process that information when you're in beta brain mode. You're stuck with your subconscious, what's already in your subconscious database, because you can access it faster. Now, if you don't have the right information to help you out of your situation, then you're kind of stuck. Right? But if you expose yourself to the right information, once that stress is lifted, then you start getting epiphanies. It's like when you turn your cell phone off going into a movie or going to church or a meeting, and then for an hour or two, then you turn it back on, all those messages and notifications and the texts start popping, right? Well, that happens in your brain when that happens. Okay. Now, with the coronavirus thing, and I've been on a kick down here, after my divorce, my first divorce, I went into the divorce rage workout routine. I was walking around about 185, trying to get down to 160 for years, and I did it in a month. I just was working out like 3 times a day, but I was eating my own cooking. And next thing you know, I'm reaching for a box, and my shoulder popped out of the socket. And I was doing like 3 sets of 50 pull-ups every day. I was 50 years old, and now I was jacked up. I couldn't do anything upper body, but I was running, but then I started traveling all over the country and fast food. I used to joke around that I had an assigned seat at Golden Corral. And then I moved to Dallas, and it was May, and it was hot. And they talk about how hot it is here in the Rio Grande Valley, but in Dallas in the summertime, that air is thick and hot. It's worse. and here they got a nice ocean breeze down here. And I went for a 6-mile run, and I got 3 miles out, and I couldn't get back. My hands swelled up, my feet swelled up, and so then after that, I couldn't do anything but walk. And I ballooned up to I'm 5'4.5" barefoot, and I ballooned up to 238 pounds. I couldn't do one pull-up, and I couldn't run a quarter mile.
Huh.
And one of my
go ahead. I want to bring this up right now because this is what it's about now, right?
Yeah, that's I'm working out with the I've done it for 4 years now with the JRTC kids at Edinburgh High School, and it's kind of a tradition that we do every year right before the Army Navy game. And
very cool. So it's all about
those are the kids, and I will do like 2 workouts a day, 2 Fridays in a row, and let them, it's kind of funny because they all think that that's all Navy guys can do this.
That's so awesome.
So with the getting to how this all ties together.
Yes.
Like down here, I said that this is the most obese region and the highest rate of diabetes in the country.
You mentioned that.
And I've been trying, I would do workouts, 5:30 in the morning on Mondays and Fridays, and I'd get a couple of parishioners and youth, some of the leadership guys at our church to work out with me once in a while, but it just never really took on. There's a group called F3, Faith, Fitness, and Fellowship. It's guys that they pray and they work out, and I'm trying to get a chapter of that going here in the Valley, and it just wasn't getting it going. And now with this whole coronavirus thing happening, and you're finding out that the people that are at the highest risk are the ones that they're obese and they have heart disease and they have diabetes, and there's a really good reason to do this, because if everybody was as zealous about their fitness and nutrition as they are about wearing a mask, we wouldn't have this pandemic. And about 2 years ago, I noticed my confidence started coming back, and I had already been working out and doing something. I mean, I was like, I couldn't believe I'm 55 years old and I was cracking a heavy bag. I mean, couldn't believe I was doing what I was doing, and I ran the marathon and everything, and I just got my confidence starts just coming up, and I'm like, and I realized somebody had told me that there's a correlation between mental health and nutrition, and
there is.
There's a little place here called Reuben's Grocery here in McAllen, Texas, and they have world-renowned superfoods. They're superfood smoothie, and they go as far as to make, so it's grown organic. All the products are grown organic, but they make the vendors certify that there's nothing added to them from the time they leave the field to the time they get to the store. They're literally the only superfoods that do that in the planet. And then Hugo Cavallos, his name, he gives classes. He gives classes on nutrition, and the main thing he talks about is the acid alkaline balance, right? And so that's, you want it, if you're too acid, the bad things happen. That's where the free radicals come in, and you get cancer and diabetes and all that. So
planning for the future is going to certainly involve taking care of yourself from a health and wellness standpoint. We've got just about 6 minutes left or so. I'd like for you to just recap for the viewers the things that they should do to start planning for the future, particularly with respect to their financial needs. Can you give us a rundown of the things that they should do? Now, I know, and I just want to say this, it's been bugging me, and we talked about it. You've given us some great information, and you talked to us about how your training in a routine helps you to be able to make good choices with respect to planning, and particularly planning for the future. People need to think about this. My point is this: we appreciate everybody that listens, and I hope that they're still with us. I'd asked everybody to stay with us. This is my thing. It's an 80-20 rule here, what's going to take place. I wanted to say this. And what I want you to do is be part of that 20. Because a lot of people will hear this. This is great information to them. But the fact of the matter is that out of 100%, only 20% are going to actually do something about this information. I want you to be part of that 20% that starts planning and starts taking action right away. We have only right this minute. Reuben's talked to us about the fact that, people are dying. Even young people are dying because of this COVID situation. We need to do something about that and plan for the future, or plan for our families. Reuben, will you please tell them what they should do next?
All right, I'm just going to try to lay it out, put the two things together, the health and wellness and the financial literacy together. Everything's gone Zoom. So every Friday morning at 5:30 Central Time and Monday morning 5:30 Central Time, I do. It's called the Stretch PT. It's what Navy SEALs do when you don't have a gym or a weight room. It's about 200 push-ups total, different reps, flutter kicks, crunches, 8-count bodybuilders, all the fun stuff, right? And then we have yoga. I have some people on my team that are, that have a background in yoga. If not, I'll just put up a video of yoga. I need it. I don't stretch enough. My knees need it for sure. And I'll be swimming on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. But and all that, if you can tune in. I'll do it on Zoom, and I'll put that information on my Facebook page. When I'm doing it, and I've been doing. I'll do it. I'm going to do it whether you do it or not. Okay, and then you need to look at how you're eating. Okay, and get the green leafy proteins. Those are way better for you than anything you could ever get eaten out. Get in the habit of brown bagging it. You'll save a ton of money, right? What's really interesting is when you can sit down with somebody and show them how to eliminate some of the expenses that are unnecessary, and then putting that money away, so they didn't impact their lifestyle in a negative way at all. But they're getting the benefit of it. You fund your emergency fund. You have you make sure you have the proper protection. And in many cases, those policies are also that money can grow, and that's for your retirement. So you're doing it all at one time. Okay, but you need to have. We are social creatures. That's the biggest problem with this whole COVID-19 thing, the whole shelter in place, because we are social creatures. I think the people are jonesing to get out for any, because they need that social interaction. And it's part of us.
Just need to take precautions and be careful, right? And eat and boost our immune system. That's an important factor. And then
pay attention to what you're eating, and
where the money's going. Exactly.
And get that and do that exercise. Do what you can. Everything that we're doing here, here's what happens with your mind. Back to the subconscious programming. If you desire something enough, okay, that megala, that part of your brain, the fight or flight, what it does is that's what shuts out all new information, just locks you down into your habitual subconscious programming. All right. But when you have focus on that thing that you desire great enough, it becomes part of that. All right. And even in the crisis, it'll steer you in the direction to get you closer to your goals. So having a goal is really important because it'll pull you out of the muck.
That's excellent. We've got about 30 seconds less than 30. I want to say thank you so very much. We appreciate you, Reuben. You've given us some great wisdom here. we want everybody to know that we appreciate you taking time to come and watch us on the town hall. We are here every week at 7 p.m. on Mondays, 7 p.m. for Ask Dr. Jenny. She is back. Please do come and join us for that. And we hope that you have learned something. We want you to apply that to your life and start planning for the future now. Now, more than later, right?
Well, thanks for having me on. We didn't rehearse this.
No, we didn't rehearse this.
So you
I love the free flow.
raw.
I love the free flow. We appreciate everybody. Thank you so very much. God bless everybody. Thank you again, Reuben. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody real soon. I'll be back tomorrow morning about 6:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sunrise Daybreakers Tribe. And we are talking about empowerment, but we're going to be talking about taking action. Let's just do that. All right. And otherwise, have a great evening. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day. God bless you and your family. Take care, and we'll see you all soon. Bye for now. This is Stephen Smith. I'm signing off from Sarasota. Reuben signing off from McAllen. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.